Airports reported diversions and cancellation on the runways were lifted in debris. Ferry service where sea levels rose and ports were damaged. Utility crews rushed to restore power and search and rescue teams cleared blocked highways. Scientists and local leaders said they even highlight changing climate dramatic in Alaska. Rising air and ocean temperature, Eli sulfur and permafrost through the cloud intensified storm increasing runoff into glacier basin and wetting coastal definites, making floods and wind disaster more frequent and destructive. Experts are calling the long-term investments, permanent protection of rivers, approved evacuation routes, and improving monitoring to global lakes. When the wind died down, in the urgent task was recovery, pumping water in flooded yards, repairing power lines, installing bridges, and acing the damaged small businesses that had suffered the loss of tourists and transportation. For many communities, the southern storm was a stark reminder of the climate change in Alaska is already attending the rhythm of life, and that more powerful and long-term resilience issue will be needed to protect homes, infrastructure, and livelihood. Residents along the North California coast are making at least minutes operation on Hurricane Helene. Stranger is not southwestern United States. The storm, now a Category 3 hurricane, continues to grand stretch with a sustainable winds of 120 km/h. Forecasts are warning of potentially devastating consequences as Helene moves within the few centimeters of the region. The National Hurricane Center was updated in devastation, warning that Helene could stretch further before the making rainfall. The storm is expected to bring dangerous winds, heavy rain, and significant storm surge that could lead to widespread flooding, especially in low-lying areas in the coast. Authorities have issued a hurricane warning for the large parts of the North California coast, urged residents to evacuate to take all necessary precautions. Evacuation orders have already been issued at residents in the outer coast, including popular tourist destinations such as Kiddens Island, Accolade Island. Evacuation shelters have been stopped in the entire of island, and local authorities are working with the Red Crescent. All organizations provide safe housing to evacuate. Ferry service between the islands have been suspended, and the highway traffic were increasing dramatically, over residents rushing to move island before the conditions deteriorate. North Carolina governor has declared a state of emergency, mobilizing National Guard and other emergency personnel to help with the preparations and a potential recovery. This is a larger and dangerous storm, Cooper asked during press conference. Alaska glacier breach in January, southern local hazards. In January, a glacier lake outburst from the medical drainage system caused debris to flow down the river, overflowing temporarily proactive structures to flooding low-lying yards and at least a small road bridge. Rapid melting and sudden outflows from the glacier blocked basins and the increasing problem in the warming Alaska. Warming summers area should melt. In the increasing precipitation can fill ice-blocked lakes more quickly, increasing the livelihood to flash floods that occur without warming. City service and volunteers rushed into reinforced riverbanks and removed debris, while the residents of the most affected area were temporarily evacuated until authorities gave the all clear. The incident highlighted the need to regularly monitor the glacier basins to improve public warning system in the area. There were no other risks in the ice jams. Pacific Northwest unusual atmospheric river in August. The rare atmospheric river in August is forecast to bring prolonged wet weather to western Washington, Oregon, and southwestern British Columbia. Forecast agencies have warned to rainfall among the coast while the weak water precipitation in some mountains was shed in a matter of hours. Washington state is experiencing one of the most severe storms in recent years, which lasted several days, destroyed its coastal towns, caused road overflow, and covered cascades with a heavy snow, prone to hailstone avalanches. Authorities confirmed at least 9 deaths related to the storm, dozens of injuries, and thousands of displaced people in western and eastern Washington state. In the key of Peace Country overlapping streams in the south suburbs, living homes uninhabitable. I lived 40 years and never seen like this, said Howard Kim, the related teacher from Uber. I felt like nature was redrawing the map. Emergency service conducted more than 300 water rescue, many of whom cars abandoned to flooded highways. The Puget Sound region experiencing hurricane force wind that uprooted century old trees and damaged power lines. More than 315,000 customers were without power, and a peak this storm and outdoor continued several days in rural communities. Further service was suspended, isolated.
Minare devriliyor.
Oha! Figen!
Minare devriliyor.
The economic impact have been profound. Small fish farms and other farms have been severely affected by the increasing salinity. Citrus, orange, and vineyards planted weeks as standing water, which had led to root and speech of decrease. For the medicinal workers and independent shop owners, even the short-clothed theater in their livelihood, which already based into small profits. Scientists and planners have all of the storm stuck. Example, the study rising sea levels, warming air, clouded drainage system make Florida particularly vulnerable. We are seeing complicating effects, sea level rising, raising the baseline, and a heavier rainfall in the feeling that the use be safer buffer, said the coastal resilience researcher. Political debates over dune zoning and upgraded drainage system will undoubtedly intensify, and communities tell the damage. But amidst the ruins, they are small but resilient and the hope. Volunteers cut off fallen oak trees and the chainsaw during the day and deliver hot meals on the night. And intense weather from the swept across California, dumping torrential rain from the coast to the Sierra and turning familiar streets to the fast-flowing rivers. Communities from the Los Angeles to the Bay Area and the Central Valley forced flash-flooding landslides in the area affected by the wildfires, and the river levels have pushed all dams to their limits. In the Sacramento, San John Delta, and along the American River of Shal Rushed, and the rainforest levels and the stacked sandbars and the overflowing canals sent infrastructure built for the different climate. States and the federal agencies have accelerated dams to the flood protection project after a rapid dangerous situation, but the residents remain nervous and inspiration as it separates erosions and the weak spots. Agriculture and small businesses are counting the losers. Flooded fields, dumped winter crops, and damaged banking plants, threatening governments, all discretionary things in the previous disaster. Analyzed one then, insurance payments were the counts and the only factors by the losers. Much of the economy is bordered falls and insurance producers on the local economies. The situation for the people is dire. Rescue from the raging water, power outage, and shelters filling with up the families in peace. Officials are printing simple life-saving rules, turn around, down, document damage for the insurance claims, obey evacuation orders when the through planning said that the season should prove California and the statement levels, updates from the drainage system, and rethink development in vulnerable floodplains. The Central Valley, known the national fruit and vegetable break, suffered devastation losers in agriculture. Flooded fields and strawberries, grapes and citrus fruits could lead to months to shortage to high price across the country. Dairy farmers rushed to mow in the heat, and the grain, soil and erosion system to destroyed under the bird water. The Sierra Nevada faces double threat, heavy snow loads on the roofs followed the rapid melting and warm rain accelerated runoff. Avalanches have formed close to major ski resorts, and a mountain town such as Turkey have been cut off from the world. More than 500,000 homes have been of several days continued to suffer from the power outage. Hospitals are treating their large number of cases and hypothermia, carbon monoxide poisoning from the dangerous oven generator and storm-related injury. Emergency shelters have overflown, provided refuge to families who have been not able to return homes to work. Texas, USA. A massive hailstorm has battered large parts of the central and northern Texas, unleashed chaos, damaged homes, and leaving thousands without power. The violent storm struck late Tuesday evening, pelting cities including Dallas, Fort Worth, and Waco, with hailstones the size of baseballs. Residents described the sound of hail hitting roofs like a gunfire, as powerful winds shattered cars' windows and ripped through the neighborhoods. Meteorologists from the National Weather Service reported hail up to 7 centimeters in diameter, and wind exceeded 100 km/h. More than 215,000 households were left without electricity overnight, with emergency crews worked into early morning to restore power. It sounded like a roof was caving in, said Angela Torres, a resident of Arlington, who shared images in destroyed windows and water-flooded living room. "We huddled in a bathroom with our kids until pieces. I never seen anything like this in my life." Local authorities confirmed that dozens of vehicles were damaged and or totaled across major highways, and several flights for Dallas Fort Worth International Airport were delayed or diverted. On Wednesday, the Alaska coast bridged the more rain and wind after destruction storm destroyed two small ingredients villages, killing at least one person and leaving more than 1,400 people homeless. Over the weekend, the reminder of a time when hailstones swallowed into the remote communities of Yukon-Kulish Delta in the southwestern parts of the state, bringing strong winds, rain, and record storm surge that washed away some homes. The Coast Guard rescued dozens of people from their homes after the buildings were washed out at sea. At least one person died and 2 are missing. The communities in Kipnak, with a population of 715, and Kiwigo, the population of 318, were hardest hit, with every home damaged by the storm. The situation of Kinpak is catastrophic. Let's not start crossed. The Mark Robert left the State Emergency Operations Center said during the press conference on Tuesday. "We are doing everything we can to continue to support this community, but the situation is bad, as you can imagine." State officials acknowledged that the people are suffering and said they are working as quickly as can. "We need to provide people with a safe place where they can warm up, eat, and get help. We are working quickly to this, but it takes time." southeast of mountains, heavy rain pounding speckled country where water-loaded slopes slid into country roads and basements were flooded in minutes. Hospitals reported a sharp increase in storm-related injury, including forced carbonate moxidons, poison in indoor generation, and hypothermia among the motorists stranded on the roads. Utility crews restored service in neighborhoods at the time, but the official warning to raking in soil the trees could continue to fall even after sky cleared. Environmentalists think the washed-out travel bus could destroy early establishment settlements, spawning grounds, undetermined to future recovery. Apple to hope growth in the Yakima Valley assessment standard water to end the damage. With the small related travel inventory, losers are here to holidays. Forecasters linking to even a powerful atmospheric river feeding to deep coastal depressions, ideal conditions to intense locally exhaled rainfall, with the possibility another front-loading emergency official urged residents to avoid flooded road, photograph damage, and increasing claiming to keep emergency kit ready. As the immediate threat subside, Washington incident to slow parks, reappearing leaves, subsiding slopes, and strangling state in the first line in the Pacific storm track. Brisbane, green body, and a white oak brow overflowing stimulation, a rare or devastation scenario. Entire neighborhoods were submerged. Emergency crews performers of 1,400 rescue using e-boats to helicopters to reach extended residents, many trapped off rooftops in the attic spaces. San Antonio and Austin facing flash floods that swept through the major roadway and overwhelming storm drains. In the county, mobile homes were washed away. Downtown Austin was so powerful through a building evacuation in wind gusts exceeded 17 millihours. Schools, hospital, and transit system across the region helped operations. Governor Greg Abbott activated the Texas devastation of emergency management, deployed National Guard troops, and declared a statewide disaster. This is not an isolated weather event and a climate emergency unfolding in real time, he said during the press conference. The National Weather Service issued level 4 flood warning of much of southwestern central Texas, warning the continued danger due to extended soil, rising rivers, and further rainfall expected for the lightning storm bands. Climate scientists for the Rice University and University of Texas confirmed the record Gulf temperature helped of the storm's intensity. Meteorologist Dr. Kaizen Lutz said, "We're seeing storms that are rather slow and destructive, all classic signs of the climate change. Damage assessment that ongoing by preliminary estimates suggest over 3 billion in losses to infrastructure, agriculture, and private property. As sky begin to clear, tens of thousands of Texans view particularly related to rebuilding homes, communities to sense safety amid the growing weather uncertainty." This week, a powerful storm swept across much of Alaska, bringing hurricane-force winds, coastal waves, and a dramatic glacier collapsed the flooded low-lying area in the state capital. Emergency service working throughout the night and clear roads, restore power, and reinforce riverbanks with the community's assessment the damage. In January, a long-awaited breakup of the Mediterranean glacier caused meltwater to flow into the Mid-Hill River, leading to record-high water levels that flooded yards and damaged small bridges. Authorities announced that a hospitably constructed system temporarily barriers protected hundreds of homes from much worse damage, and the residents are urged to follow evacuation instructions to weather warning. For the west and across south-central Alaska, storms, wind knocked down trees, powered lines, and forces of cancellation and flights and ferries. In Anchorage, a surrounding area's crew responded to dozens of wind-related incidents, and thousands of people were briefly left without power, and key transportation links were disrupted. Over 200,000 customers were left without electricity and boiled water notices were issued across multiple cities. The National Weather Service reported rainfall total up to 16 inches in parts of southwestern Texas. Meteorologists blamed the extreme weather as solid frontal body ray combined by the warm, moisture-rich air from the Gulf of Mexico. Climate experts from the University of Texas say punch prolonged an intense rainfall event to become more common, pointed to water, sea surface temperature and shifting jet streams patterns. As floodwaters begin to recede, Texas and less comfortable plans clean up to growing reality. These storms are not longer rare, they are a new dangerous normal. A massive and slow-moving storm system has plunged much to Texas into crisis, bringing life-threatening floods, destructive winds and mass power outage across dozens of countries. At least 14 people have been confirmed dead, over 3,000 displaced, more than 215,000 were left without electricity, and floodwaters continue to surge across the state. In Houston, one of the worst hit area, over 17 inches of rainfall within 84 hours.
It's like a snowstorm. Our vehicles are gonna have major hail damage.
The greatest two related hazards, flash flood and the risk levels, which are especially dangerous steep slopes, left the borough in the recent firefighters in debris flow to landslides in higher elevates. Although rain can help extinguish active fires, hydrologists caution the public in avoid low-lying canyons in the river crossing until the conditions water layer can be accepted. Connection and consequences by multiple events matter. Taken together, these events demonstrated how ocean warming changing to seasonal circulation and local changes in Earth's surface can after the nature consequences of weather storms and the down energy from the warm sea. Warm air can hold most moisture to bring heavier rainfall. He left it landslide that faster route, though. The practical implementation of straightforward communities need both implemented preparedness to especially hazard and long-term investments in the resilience. Updated evacuated routes reinforces flood definition of rivers and coastal, improving monitoring the global basins and the small and the used planning in the area prone to flash flooding and landslides. Florida experienced a devastating coastal storm that hit the coast with the powers, with torrential rain, light threatening storm surge with the Big Bear, Tampa Bay, on the Sun Coast. In lonely areas, Seaways bridges alert the flooded homes. Inland, torrential windstorms streets in fast-flowing channels overwhelmed drainage system and washing course and flooded interactions. Emergency service continued hundreds of rescue operations from St. Petersburg to Delaware. Gusts of winds broke power poles to separate debris across Darkness Avenue. The water rose clouds the fast-moving tide, said Angela Ruiz, San Tampa. 1 minute it was ankle deep, in the next it was a cut. Airports restricted operations, Interstate Highway I-75 and I-95 were closed, and Barry Island were temporarily cut off, bridges were changed for damage. Along the natural coast, still water flooded into marshes and estuaries, threatening outlet farms, circus and starved by groves reported standing water that could remain several days.
Sorry familj, ma...
California's recovery after several days of heavy rain, with atmospheric front brought tropical moisture from the coast to the Sierra. Lola area from San Diego to the Bay Area wake up knee-deep in water with the car stuck in intensification. Inland, the Central Valley turned into the mosaic and makeshift lakes, the creeks split in fields and towns. In Los Angeles, storm drains overflowing and unprecedented filled with water in minutes. We watch as the crabs disappeared when the sidewalks in the street, said Marcel Vega on the Peak of Union. In the not alone US 101, landslides scattered moved to the borders across the lines and sector of I-5 were predictably closed for the fast water rescue operations and debris removal. While the coast high waves and strong stuff washed over seawalls from the Pacific to Santa Barbara, a routing rift already weakening the windowed storm. The Sacramento San John Delta faced another danger. Overflowed rivers put pressure at levels. The Central Valley, known the national fruit and vegetable break, is safer devastation losers in agriculture. Flooded fields and strawberries, already grits and citrus fruits could lead to months to shortage to high price across the country. Dairy farmers rush to mow in the heat, and the grains sell an erosion system to destroy it under the bird water. The Sierra Nevada faces double threat, heavy snow loads on the roofs, followed the rapid melting and warm rain accelerator runoff. Avalanches have formed shoot to major ski resorts and a mountain town such as Turkey have been cut off from the world. More than 500,000 homes have been of several days continued to suffer from the power outage. Hospitals are treating their large number of cases and hypothermia, carbon monoxide poisoning from the dangerous up generating and storm-related injury. Emergency shelters have overflowed, provided refuge to families who have been not able to return homes to wait. Western Alaska is reeling after the remains of Typhoon Howlong came through the coastal line, unleashed record-breaking winds, massive waves, and catastrophic flooding. Entire communities have been left under current disabled. The meteorologists are calling the most violent storm to strike Alaska in decades. The storm, which transformed from the typical typhoon into the powerful extratropical cyclone, slammed it into the Bering Sea coast with the sustained winds up to 116 km/h, and the storm surged in opposite sea waters more than 10 feet island. Towns including Name, Golovin, Hopper Bay, and Sheltered Lake suffered the worst of the devastation. A witness described a terrified scenes of entire section of shoreline where sheet homes floated away and finished boats that smashed to pieces. I feel like the end of the world, said Martina Neural, residents of Golovin. Officials say hundreds of homes have been damaged or destroyed. In one of Alaska's largest western statements flooded swept through the historic downtown, leaving vehicles submerged and power lines thrown apart. The National Weather Service confirmed that water levels were the highest ever recorded since 1968. Representation from the NOAA and Regional Meteorological Service note the common amid forecast to be above average season in the Atlantic in 2025 caused the high sea surface temperatures and cloud conditions conduction of the storm formations. These conditions make villages and advanced preparation particularly impact of the year. Residents in low-lying coastal area should check evacuation routes to secure loose outdoor items. The precautions. A powerful storm system has battered the state of Texas and led to days of torrential rain, destructive winds and flash floods that have led a trail of destruction across the both urban central of rural communities. At least 20 people have died, hundreds have been injured, and thousands displaced of water raced rapidly across more than 14 countries. In Houston, intense rainfall overwhelmed the drainage system. Buffalo, Bayonne, and White Oak, Beyond's bridge the banks, flooding highways, submerged vehicles and turned residential streets into rivers. Officials confirmed over 1,000 water rescue with emergency shelters went quickly to floodwaters in waiting homes. In San Antonio and Austin, with exceeded 16 millihours, down at recent power lines, flash flooding caused closed, and businesses, while entire neighborhoods lost access to clean water. Basin County issue evacuation order for low-lying area as the river rose historic levels. Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration to deploy the Texas National Guard and State Emergency Service. Texas is racing, but the storm was pushed many communities to the brink, and he started. California is recovered after several days of heavy rain, with atmospheric front brought tropical moisture from the coast to Sierra. Low-lying area from San Diego to the Bay Area wake up knee-deep in water with the car stuck in intensification. Inland, the Central Valley turned into the mosaic and makeshift lakes, the creeks, polluted fields and towns. In Los Angeles, storm drains overflowing and unprecedented filled with water in minutes. We watched as the crabs disappeared when the sidewalks in the street, said Marcel Vega on the Pecan Union. In the not alone US 101, landslides canterate moved to the borders across the lines and sector of I-5 were predictably closed for the fast water rescue operations and debris removal. While the coast high waves and strong stuff washed over seawalls from the Pacific to Santa Barbara, a routing rift already weakened the windowed storm. The Sacramento San John Delta faced another danger, overflowed rivers put pressure at levels.